This is our great interview with King Foley. We really enjoyed discussing thrash with this legend. Like we aforementioned, there are several geek out moments that just run amok. So here's our interview with King Foley of Deceased.
We wanted to have your fast times behind us. We thought that'd be appropriate. Yeah,
Oh, that's
we're
great.
yeah,
Yeah, cool,
we're,
cool.
we're
Yeah, I
big
don't know what
fans
the
of
hell
that.
happened at that damn thing the other day, man.
There's a
I
lot going
apologize
on.
again.
I think it's
It got out
hysterical.
of hand
So
quick, man.
so we're down the street, all set up, going, he's gonna be here any minute. And meanwhile, you walk up to who 97 Underground, and they're like, what? Right?
Well, pretty much Amos told me, he said, yeah, that guy you were supposed to do an interview with, he's waiting for you over there, 97 Underground. I said,
Oh,
okay.
geez.
And I went over there, and the guy's like, had some other guy on there. So he's like, yeah, you're supposed to be here, have a seat. And I sit
Yeah.
down, and they're really into this guy at first. He's like, okay, King, where are you guys playing around town and, in the DC, Baltimore area? And I said, blah, 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 blah. And then we just sat there. They talked about some fucking pizza. And then that was it. And I was like, wow,
Oh
that wasn't much to
my God.
that. And I walked away, and I was like, that's what it was. He goes, yeah, that's the guy that contacted me on the email. I'm like, huh?
No, no.
That's kind of where it stood.
I couldn't have made that location work sound wise either.
Dude, I had no idea at that point who anybody was anymore. I was like completely freaked out. There's people hitting me up on Facebook now. They're like, yeah, man, remember taking this picture? I'm like, nope. And I got a great memory. That's what was weird about it all. We literally came down, me and my wife went down Friday into Virginia to do some. I used to live in Virginia. We did a bunch of crap down there. We were supposed to practice at 6 o'clock in DC for the show. Our
Right.
bass player didn't get there till 10:15. So
Mm.
4.5 hours later, my wife had to do a supervisor thing at 8:30 morning in Pennsylvania. So we drove all the way back to Philly, stayed at our house, got up again. She did her thing, and then we drove back to Baltimore by 2 o'clock to play the show. So it was just loopy eyed Joe,
Wow.
man.
Oh my
Wow.
God.
Yeah. Well, you guys sounded great. I mean,
Yeah.
the set was great. I love that you went back to the first
Thanks. We did
record.
have a blast.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we
That's
were
great.
we were keeping it old school. We didn't play anything newer than like 97, so we didn't play anything for like 26 years later.
Wow.
Yeah, like when you were like,
They
this
gave
is
us
when
30
I
minutes.
stopped.
They put us early. They put us early on that thing. I don't know what the hell the deal was. We just went in. We said we got 30 minutes. Most of our tunes in the last 20 years are like 5 to 10 minutes each, so it would have been
Yeah.
like 3, 4 songs tops.
Yeah. No, I love that about you guys. Your songs are a little longer, 6, 7 minutes. I like that, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, we're working
Well,
on the new one now.
That's great.
oh, I
Yeah.
can't wait for that for sure. So I know everyone asked you since you were the first to get signed with Relapse. Did you feel like you were taking a chance doing it, or how was it like working with them?
It was pretty much even, Steven. We were kind of like just coming up, and they were just coming up too. And they basically Matt, the owner at the time, Matt Jacobs. He lived in Colorado, and we used to do pen pal stuff. He'd send me stuff at the old Kinko's copy place. These stickers that you put them on something. As soon as you pulled the paper off the back of the sticker, all the ink would come off the sticker, so there really would be no sticker. But that was the earliest days, and he kept telling me, "I'm going to do a record label. And I want you guys to be the first band." And so I said, okay, let me know. And me and Mark and Les from the band at the time, we were all in. We were like, they don't got any money. We don't got no money. Perfect. Let's go with it. And our guitar player was like, no, we got to wait it out. We got to wait it out. But he got outnumbered. So we went with it. And I mean, Relapse went on to do a lot of good things. And I do thank them for the early days of
Yeah.
being on the label and stuff. But it was something that went, like a lot of the stories, it did go south eventually.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. No, understood. I mean, it was nice that Scott Hall from Pig Destroyer had a deceased shirt on for his set. I thought that was a
Oh,
nice
yeah, yeah.
that was a nice tip off. We tried to flag him down, but I couldn't get him. Like, I always wanted to thank him for the engineering job he did on those pentagram demos when they unearthed the old pentagram stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because remember, I mean,
Yeah,
you're old school like me. Remember how legendary they were? Like those nobody could get a hold of those early recordings. It was like the stuff of legend, and people had hissy tape copies was the best you could get of the early pentagram, and
I
it was
mean,
great.
I grew up in Arlington, Virginia. That's where they grew up,
Yeah,
in Arlington, Virginia.
yeah,
And to be honest, truthfully, a lot of people back then looked at them as a joke. They really did, because they were just
really.
older guys and stuff, and they were kind of under the radar. And then Sean Pellet Pelletier from Relapse, he wrote that big thing talking about that 70s thing.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
he was the guy that put Pentagram on the map outside of the locals back in the day. I mean, it was
Yeah.
them, it was the Obsessed, it was Asylum, which became Unorthodox.
Oh
That
yeah.
was like the Doom, the hippie rock is what it was called then.
Yeah.
I remember them when they were called Death Row. I can remember the ads as a kid,
Uh,
like, you think Iron Maiden is heavy, you think Black Sabbath is cool,
yeah, yeah,
you've got to
yeah,
see Death Row, and they'd be
yeah.
playing it like, you know, Billy's Barbecue this Saturday night. Be there.
Yeah, that was, and again, it's insular and it's pre-internet. So I thought Pentagram and Unorthodox and Earthride and all that stuff, I thought that was the real Doom. So when I heard Candlemass, I was like, what the hell is this shit? What's with the Ingve solos and stuff? Where are the sideburns? Where are the flares? I didn't know how to process it at
Right?
first. You know what I mean?
Yeah, where's the underarm hairs
It's and the best thing about Pentagram is
on
you never
on the
knew.
gals?
Oh yeah, yeah. And it was always, is Bobby going to show up? Is he not going to show up? Are we going to have a
well,
show? There's
well,
always that danger.
well.
Yeah.
Hey, Walter, who plays bass in Deceased live, our bass player, he used to
Yeah.
be in Pentagram. He was
Uh-huh.
He was there a couple of those shows where Bobby didn't show up.
Oh God.
He's told me the tales.
Yeah, we
I
all
mean,
were there. Yeah. Yeah. I understand.
he
Yeah.
was. I mean, he was actually in the band, and they were just. He was like, "Dude, Bobby's not showing up."
Yeah.
Oh my
No.
But you're
God.
right. That Maryland scene was heavy stoner rock.
Oh
There
yeah.
was tons of them from
What was the German
Spirit
label?
Caravan when Wino was doing a couple of different things.
Hellhound, right? Hellhound stuff.
Hellhound Records,
Yeah.
Revelation was another one.
Hmm.
John Brenner was a good friend. My
Hmm.
bass player, my other band, October 31, Jim, he went on. He was the bass player in Revelation for a few albums. When John Brenner stopped playing, it was Dennis Cornelius, who used to live at my house. He was the singer, guitar player, and there
Yeah.
was them. And then there was other bands too. Like we said, there was what's another band that was going on then? There was oh damn, I was Eternal Void,
Internal Void.
Eternal
Yeah.
Iron Man, of course, blah blah
Iron Man.
blah. But
Yeah.
it was always something. We played with a lot of those bands back in
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
day,
I
man,
loved all
because
that stuff. I was knee deep in all that stuff. Yeah. Those were the days. Yep. Yeah.
You guys
those
had
were the days.
so many demos at the beginning. Was that just kind of like was that like a calculated thing? Were you label shopping?
I was talking about this earlier on Facebook today. We were writing tunes and improving our craft, something I think in today's music world people jump the gun too much.
Yeah.
Bands are more interested in coming up with a clever name, a cutesy pie band photo, and they're already making videos and then they're off doing an album. We were in no hurry. We were in no
Yeah.
hurry to do an album. I mean, if you take the first 3 demos which were released to the public, that was 9 songs, 8 songs, 7 songs. Right there, that's 24 songs. And we actually recorded a 4th demo just for ourselves, which was 5 more songs. We had 29 songs before we even thought about doing a record.
Yeah.
We wanted to get better as songwriters and things like that. We were in no hurry. It really wasn't a conscious effort. Even with the Relapse thing, had we passed on that, if we would all say, you know what, let's just keep doing what we do for a little while longer, that would have been fine too. We were not actually looking for a record label or anything. We were just wanted to play music. We
That's
were
really cool.
becoming I like to say the local heroes. We were doing very good on the party front. I mean, when we started out, there was 2 bands in Virginia that I knew of that played what we were doing. There was us in Northern Virginia, and there was At War down in Southern Virginia.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's all there was. We were playing parties with bands called Learning Disabled Kids and Creeping
Okay.
Corpse. It was these punk rock bands, and we would cover Sodom songs or Hyrax or even Bathory. The early Slayer stuff. Nobody knew what that was. Nobody.
Yeah.
So we do a DRI cover, and they'd be like, "Oh yeah, I've heard of that." But
Yeah.
it was weird. We'd play a lot of outdoor parties out in Great Falls, Virginia, with these
Yeah.
punk rockers whose parents were doctors, and they had these huge, and I mean huge fields we'd do stuff in. So that's kind of where it was, and when we just kind of went from there, and we became, we were all smoking and toking and drinking and fucking and all that stuff back then.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
became this crazy fucking, the guys in Deceased, and me being outlandish as shit back then. I mean, I was drinking quarts of motor oil at parties and shit
Oh
like that. Oh
wow.
my god, these
Yeah.
guys are crazy. And
Yeah.
no kidding aside, I mean, we were just nuts. And that's kind of where it got for us as far as that. As far as the demos, we just wanted to write better songs. We were in no hurry to put a record out. We were actually kind of surprised when the guys that became Relapse came to us.
Yeah. What about Marty Friedman's band was part of that? Weren't they? He was in Hawaii and he was in the
Yeah, he had a Y, but locally it was Deuce, and then they became
Deuce.
Tension.
That's it.
That was
Deuce.
Marty Friedman's band. It was
Yeah.
called Deuce. I saw
Yeah.
them open up for Metal Church first album tour up at the Seagull Inn in Maryland.
I remember the Seagull. Yeah, yeah. I never got to see Deuce, but I remember he was always talking about those big parties in Northern Virginia. Yeah, that he would play at. Yeah,
Oh yeah,
same scene.
that yeah. Any just that Maryland, DC, Virginia had that party craziness going
Yeah,
on for sure.
really cool. Yeah.
So what was it like running your own label when you had with your teeth? How many bands did you have and how was it?
I only had a few things. Truthfully, I always tell the truth when I do stuff. We used to go out and steal CDs at record stores to survive. We used
Yeah.
to go into record stores, Sam Goodies and stuff, and we would take CDs and trade them in. How this got this way was when we were young, we didn't have any money for weed. So we go into these stores, and I'd actually used to work at Waxy Maxie's. Maybe you
Oh
guys
yeah,
remember that
remember that.
record store,
Oh
Waxy Maxie's. And I used to pop the cassette traps. I knew how to get the cassettes out of those plastic shoplifter traps.
Mhm.
So we'd take like 8, 9 tapes and trade them in for 20, $25, get an eighth of weed, whatever it was.
Yeah.
So one day I saw these things called compact discs. I remember it was the first 4 Sabbaths I took. They were in the long box then, and they were like 18, 20, $25 each. And I said, well, they're definitely worth more than a damn cassette. So I took them to this record store, and the ice guy said, I've never had anybody trade them. They're so new. I said, what do you want to give me? He goes, I'll give you $5 a piece. So just like that, we had our money for that. So we just became this crew. I hate to say this. I'm long removed from this,
You
but
got to
back
do
in
what
those
you got to
crazy
do.
days, those motor oil drinking days, we did that. So I would put aside some of the money, and I would tell bands, I'm going to put out a 7-inch of your band, or I'm going to put out a cassette album, or we're going to do a demo, or whatever, T-shirts, blah blah blah. So that's truly what it was then. It was just to help out, and it wasn't that much money. It was learning experience more than anything. But I love doing it. I did stuff with local guys. Abominog put out their first 7-inch. A band called Corpus Ratus out of Delaware, which I did an album with called Rituals of Silence. They should have been huge. They just couldn't keep it together. These guys
Yeah.
should have been on Roadrunner and stuff. They should have been up there
Right.
with the bigger bands. They were that good. But I love doing it. And we used to have these shows called Teeth, and More Teeth after the record label. And we'd have these big, all nighter. When I was in 3 of the bands playing, I helped out
Wow.
Abominog. I had Deceased, and I had Doomstone, this other band at the time. I'd be on stage two friggin' hours in a row with 3 bands.
Wow. Yeah, we just interviewed Pat from Hellwitch the other day, and
I love Pat. Great guy.
he had all kinds of stories about being on Wild Rags, and I just was like, you recorded at Morrisound. Why didn't you get the cushy, 3-album Metal Blade deal? And he was like, because of fucking Wild Rags. Yeah.
Richard C.
Yeah.
I was on the phone with Richard C. Believe it or not, I'm an old nostalgic guy. Collect this and that, and he used to go to his basement and come to me and be like, "King, man, you have any interest in, Charlie's Angels posters?" And yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely. We're on the phone. All of a sudden, he goes, "I'm gonna have to call you back. The IRS, the police are here from
Oh,
the IRS for
yeah,
me."
that's the
And
legend of Wild
that's
Rags.
when they took him away right then and there. I
Yeah.
was on the phone with him. No shit. I was on the phone with. We were talking about the old porno girl Seika. He's like, I got these old porno girl Seika posters. You want those? Yeah, I'll take those. Hold on. The cops are here. Got to go. Click. And that's the last time
Oh,
I ever
that
talked to Richard C.
any excuse, whatever. The cops are here. Hey, I wanted to ask you a rumor I heard about you, but I never substantiated it. You don't like headphones because you only like large speakers. Is that right? Like, where did I hear that? No small speakers?
I do wear. You may have heard. It may got like kind of transformed in the told to you.
Yeah,
When we
yeah.
record, headphones can't hold me. Is
Okay,
what it
got it.
is. So when we did our first album, Luck of the Corpse, I had the thing on 10 to the point it was literally, I don't know how this happened. It was literally smoke coming out of the headphones. I don't know. Sounds like a Spinal Tap thing, but truthfully, that's what happened. And Mike Bozier, who does Oblivion Studios, who's a good friend of ours and recorded many things, he tells people, I go in there after we've done a session of vocals when I'm in there with the headphones on, and the next person in line's like, "Oh my God, who had this on? This is killing me," and it's never enough. So there's been times on inner ear studios when we did Blueprints for Madness, where he would
Uh-huh.
just put the overheads on with the background, and he would
Okay.
let the bleed come through, and I would just do it. It just never loud enough for me.
Never
I don't
loud
know.
enough.
Something's really wrong
Not
with
too
me,
far
man.
off. Okay. That's good.
You guys up in Metal Archives, there are actually 4 other deceased: Germany, Philippines, Poland, and Singapore. Did you ever have a problem with the name?
Those 4 came after us. There was actually 2 bands before us. There was a band in England called Deceased, was a punk band in the
Really?
early '80s. And there was a band called The Deceased. back then
Okay.
before us. No, not never at all. It's weird because I see all the time maybe a Facebook thing or a YouTube thing where someone's like telling them, "Are you fucking stupid? There's a band called Deceased that's been around close to 40 years.
Yeah.
Go find another name."
Right.
They're like, "What are you going to call yourself next? Iron Maiden?" Giving them some shit like that.
Exactly.
I've never talked to anybody in those bands ever. Nobody's ever said anything to me. People have come to me like you guys just did and said, "Hey, you know about these guys?" And some of them I played them for shits and giggles. And hey, teach their own. We're Deceased for 38 years. We just do what we do, and so be it.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
great. Yeah.
So how did you come up with that idea when you kind of throw time signature changes in the middle of a song? It kind of creates a wide ride feel that I think is specific to you guys.
It's it's really okay. I'm the arranger of all the stuff. I'm the arranger and the deranger. Mike Smith has been writing the riffs probably since '97, mostly everything.
Okay.
He's the riff writer. He'll come in with stuff and I'll take it and put it through the King-O-meter and change it up a little bit and stuff. How it got to the weird arrangements and stuff that you're asking, I would say it was my extreme love for Emerson, Lake and Palmer in
Yeah.
1993 when we did the Blueprints for Madness songs, where I was
Okay.
like, we're gonna take it outside the box. We're gonna be crazy. But I also wanted it to be something, because if you're too technical, there's no song there. And I wanted there to be hooks. And I'm from the school of pop too. I grew up on all the stuff, even with Deceased. When I'm writing stuff, I'm thinking good, memorable choruses, a la Foreigner, things like that. Bands that there's a hook there. You got to
Right.
have a song. To me, there's
Yeah.
plenty of bands that can write great riffs, but they can't arrange a song. I'd
Yeah.
rather listen to 50 Ramones songs in a row that are all catchy and sing along than just a
Yeah.
bunch of wankery, which
Yeah. Exactly.
unfortunately, a lot of these technical bands, some people love it, just not for me or us, and aren't so much into that. But we try to put a little bit of everything we do into it. We love everything from the extreme bands when we grew up with like Repulsion or Master
Oh, yeah.
to stuff like Queensryche, Operation Mindcrime, or Fate's Warning, to of course your Maidens, to your Anvils, then to your early Napalm Death or Impetigo. It goes all over the spectrum. And meanwhile, all like I said, all that the stuff I love, it could be a Pat Benatar song that's just a
Yeah.
hook in your thing. You're not want to sound like that, but you want to have something that people remember. When we play, a lot of times, maybe not so much in Baltimore this past weekend, because we played so much older, just we're on fire, run for the door kind of shit that
Right.
weekend. But if you start getting to like mainly Fearless on, there's a lot of heavy metal in there mixed in with our thrash, our speed, and I still stand by this. We're still death metal. Now, death metal became grr and downtuned and incantation and Cannibal Corpse and Gore Guts and Obituary.
Yeah.
To me, if you want to call that death metal, I have to have some kind of eeriness, some kind of darkness, some kind of presence in the music that brings fear and like a chill to my to my skin and my blood, because that's what's missing. And that's one thing we do. I had one guy tell me that we were drama metal. That we had. He's like, "Man, I'm scared on these songs." I'm like, "That's what we're trying to do." A lot of bands don't do that. They
Yeah.
tune down, they gurgle with the incoherent vocals. That's another thing. I'm not. All my lyrics have got to be pronunciated. I'm from the school of Kronos from Venom. Heavy, but you hear the lyrics.
Yeah. No.
I was
That's
talking.
kind of where all that comes from. We just we throw it in a cup and roll it out with some
Yeah.
dice.
Yeah, I was talking. We were just talking with James from Hellripper, and I complimented him on that. I'm like, that's the kind of style that I like best, where I can honestly, I don't have to look up the lyrics and be like, what was that?
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's the same with me. Years and years and years and years ago, before he was
Uh-huh.
ever in Cannibal Corpse, when he was in Corpse Grinder,
Yeah.
he always wanted to arm wrestle me. Let's arm wrestle, dude. Let's arm wrestle. And I kept saying, dude, you can't arm wrestle me. You'll lose. So
Oh,
on
nice.
my birthday, I think it was 91. I'm going to say 90 or 91 on my birthday. He said, "Come on, man, I'm at your birthday. Let's arm wrestle." And I'd been tilting the bottle at the time, and this girl made me a cake of a cemetery, and she's like, "It took all day to make this. Let's cut it up and eat it." And I said, "Fuck that!" I took the whole cake and just went blap right in my face.
Oh
Wore
my god!
the whole cake, right? She's like, "You're fucking nuts." And he's like, "All right, let's do this shit now. Let's do this." I said, "All right, motherfucker, you ready to lose?" We laid down. I'm not kidding. He waited 2 years for this. We put arm to arm. 2 seconds, I pinned him. And he literally was, I'm not going to say he truly was crying, but he was emotionally upset about this.
Devastated.
I was like, I kept telling you, man, don't waste your time. So
Yeah.
whenever I do see him, I'm like, want to arm wrestle? You want to fucking arm wrestle?
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah,
Good guys,
we were watching them, and of course, I've been a Cannibal fan for years and years. And I was talking to Stace, and I mentioned her. I said, "Yeah, Corpse Grinder's from Baltimore," and she's like, "Oh, really?" So then he announces, "This is my hometown,n," and I just muttered in her ear, "Broncos fan."
though. Right, yeah. Ravens will punch you in the face. I get you.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I'm like, yeah. Wait, as soon as he said Broncos fan, I'm like, okay, well, So anyway,
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't be a Broncos fan if I lived in Denver.
exactly right.
Yeah,
Okay.
I really loved the Fearless Undead Machine with the whole kind of zombie motif, and it just seems like it permeates our culture. Like you had the George Romero in yours. I'm sure you've seen The Walking Dead. It just seems to be such a theme in our culture that people are just fascinated with. Why do you think we keep coming back to zombies?
That's a good question. I really don't have the answer to that. I mean, I know when we did it, when we did our first demo, The Evil Side of Religion, I have no idea what the hell that name meant or nothing. I was 18, 17. We were writing about the typical crap like grave robbing or the end of the world or, something like that, something gory. And
Yeah.
by the second and third demos, we did Birth by Radiation, Nuclear Exorcist. Those were actually concept demos. And I had thought at the time, as we keep going, I'm going to keep this concept going throughout our whole career. And then as the time, when it came to the fourth demo, I was like, you know what? This is kind of going in a circle. It's going to be worthless. Two albums in. So when we did get signed to Relapse and they wanted an album, we wanted to put songs from that first demo that had nothing to do with that concept. So it immediately threw me off my, what I was going to do. So I said, one day we're going to come back to this and I'm going to do it right with everything, which had to do with the zombies and stuff. And yes, I grew up. I mean, I'm born 1968. That's the year of Night of the Living
Yeah.
Dead for me. The great zombie start of it all, the Romero zombies. I don't know why it's still as big as it is. I think it's overplayed now. It's so out of control. The Walking Dead has kind of run its course now. It's kind of going a little bit more, I'd say underground again for a while. When we hit on it in 97, two things were going on. I don't think zombie films were in then. And I know for a damn fact that heavy metal was a no-no two words in the United States.
Yeah.
It was
Wow.
all about grunge or alternative or anything but heavy metal.
Yeah.
And that was one thing that we wanted to put a sticker on the album, which we didn't get to do because Relapse, they chickened out. We had one that said straight up on there, it said no yo boy breakdowns, no, like rap metal, and it said like no Pantera beards. This is
Oh,
death
nice.
metal from the grave. And they refused to put that on there at the time. And I said, we're bringing back the zombie thing. We dedicated that record. If you ever see the thanks in there to like the Romero stuff, of course,
Of
but
course.
even the Italian films back then, the zombies, the Gates of Hell, all
Yeah.
those movies that we grew up on, because horror movies are a very important thing to me and to the guys in the band. I mean, it's carried some of our records, whether it be Supernatural Addiction or a lot of Ghostly White, even. There's a lot of that. My mom got me into that crap. My mom used to tell me, you were conceived when me and your dad went to see Rosemary's Baby, in the drive-in.
Nice.
And I said, okay. But I said, Mom, Rosemary's Baby is 1968 too. Takes 9 months to have a baby, right? And
I
she's
think
like,
her math
well,
is off. Yeah.
and then she goes, well, maybe it was the movie Blood Feast then. But yeah, my dad died very, very young, which probably puts a morbid thing in my heart somewhere because I'm a very happy guy overall. But my mom took me to every horror movie, and I could remember looking at her, and she'd have this look like, "Yep, I hope it's scaring the shit out of you," It did. I can remember being 8, seeing a movie called Burnt Offerings with Karen Black, Betty Davis, great haunted house movie. And I said, Mom, I don't want to see the ending. I'm freaked out. She's like, well, go out in the lobby then. The people in the movie will be out there with you. I'm going to see the end of the film. So she would fuck with me. But that's kind of where the zombie thing came for us. Why it's a big thing in the world, I really don't know. But I guess we all have a mystique about dying. And if there
Yeah.
really is, you ever do come back, obviously not like that, but just in general, life after death or restarting life. That's the greatest mystery on the planet is where do you go when you die?
Yeah.
Nobody has the answer. Not even Harry Houdini could tell us.
That's right. And what's that behind you? I see a lot of. Are they VHS? Are they CD? What format are you?
This is all horror DVDs. My
DVDs.
house
Okay.
here. I'll give you a quick tour. Look. That's all. My whole it goes all the way up.
Oh my
This is
Lord.
this is where all my money I make ever goes. I have about
Yeah.
27,000 DVDs.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Movies is, I tell people, movies is my drug of choice besides music.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all in my living room here. My living room's like my little, I guess it's my museum. Everything's up. Crazy shit everywhere in here.
Yeah. It's the
Wally
lair.
Gator over here. You're old enough to remember Wally Gator.
Oh yeah. Yeah. My mom used to call my room the den of sin. She would be like, "Can you please clean the den of sin?" Yeah. Yeah.
Can you please clean the dentist? And I like that. Yeah, this is my. I don't know. We'll call this the living room of doom.
There you go. Very good. Yeah.
Yeah, I also, of course, being from Baltimore, love that you did the Telltale Heart remake. Look, we have a Raven right here. He used to be a lamp, but we kind of broke him.
Yeah.
But I love that in the Dark Chilling Heartbeat. You know, it was neat that you kind of departed from movies and kind of let literature sneak in too. Are there other literary influences in your music?
I'm an Edgar Allan Poe freakazoid. I love it.
So am
On
I.
the Ghostly White album, I'm not sure how familiar you are with our last record, Ghostly White, but there's a
I
song
am.
on there
I
about a
am.
guy that's so infatuated with Edgar Allan Poe that every night he gets lost inside the story and becomes him. I go back to him. That story when I was a kid freaked me out. I used to have this record. Okay, here's the story. It was 1975. My dad died in 74. My mom took care of us at this apartment. We were very, very poor. My mom had to work on Halloween. It actually snowed that year, and my sister and me were there. I was let's see, I would have been 7. My sister was probably 4. My mom's sister was watching us. She came in the house. She said, her sister Marlene. She said, "Tell Kingsley to come with me. I see Kelly, my sister, is asleep." She took me outside. She took me to her car, and it started to snow. This was a wintry Halloween. We opened up the trunk. She had this record. It was called Famous Ghost Stories by Wade Denning, and it was all these. It was that was on there, and the Miser's Gold, just stuff we grew up with,
Wow.
all of us. They used to have these same these cuts from this record actually ended up on the honeycomb cereal boxes in the late 70s. You actually cut the record off the back of the cereal. And I fell in love with this thing. It even had a hand puppet of a ghost. We were going back to the house, and this is no joke. We were going back to the house. I looked over and I saw this man in a bunny suit with looked like blood all over him. And my mom said, "Hurry up, hurry up." She pulled me in the house. Well, it turned out there was a guy who was a nut who was dressed up as the Bunny Man, the legend of the Bunny Man. And they actually caught this guy that on Halloween. So this is
Oh my
something that
God.
stays with me, and those
Mm-hmm.
stories, because the premonition also from Supernatural Addiction is another story. That I did back then, which was from Twilight Zone. This was all stuff from that era as being a kid. And there was actually another one on there called A Very Familiar Stranger, which is from a song called The Hitchhiker, well, a story called The Hitchhiker from that same record. So that's like one of my main influences as a kid for lyrical content outside of the early stuff I said, The End of the World and grave robbing and all that. This is things to me that hit home more, even if they're fiction. Fiction for the most part. I remember that tale with the Bunny Man guy. That's true. People talk about these fake, the Mothman and all this. We saw this guy. My mom was
Yeah.
scared
Oh
to
my
death.
God.
She drugged me up those stairs of that apartment on that night.
When you say the hitchhiker, do you mean the Twilight Zone hitchhiker? That one?
Kind of the
This was
urban
this
legend.
Yeah, kind of like an urban legend. Basically, it's the story of a guy who's driving on the road. It's real cold out. He sees a girl. She's standing there. He's like, "Why are you out here? It's freezing." She gets in the car. She's quiet. She's subdued. She eventually says, "This is where I live. Can you take me home?" He takes her
Oh, I know
home.
this
He's
story.
driving away. He forgets his jacket he put on her. He
That's right.
goes back. The mother says, "There is no daughter. She's
She's
been
dead.
dead.
Yeah.
Every night somebody brings her home."
That's right. Okay. No, I got you. I thought you meant that I'm a real
Oh yeah,
Twilight
it's a
Zone
great one
nut.
too. No, I know what you're talking about. She keeps seeing the hitchhiker
But
in the
she's,
window of her
I tell you
car.
what, my favorite part about that is she bangs on the old man's door and says, "Help up, I'm so scared. There's someone following me." And the old man's like, "Get the fuck out of here." Right. And then the
Yeah,
Navy guy bangs and he's like, "Hey man, you got some customers out here." And he's like, "Oh, okay, well, no problem. If a man says it's okay, then I'll gas you right up."
right.
Yeah, that
That's a great show. Talk about a show ahead of its time.
oh my God, I know. Yeah, I
Spooky
have
as hell.
I have all the DVDs of that. Yes, I had to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
me too.
yeah,
As
totally.
you can tell.
Rod Serling, yeah. Uh,
Classic.
So the melodies and harmonies of your guitars have only gotten more intricate over the years. Is that a natural progression or is it just a conscious push?
Absolutely. It's definitely part of what we do. I think that melodies, whether it be children's melodies and things as a kid, like things you remember in your head, or are distracting melodies of awkwardness, of say of a band like a Voivod, they can put you in a weird mindset. And I think one thing that Mike Smith, the one that writes the riffs, he is the master of that. He can come up with stuff. We've got a riff that's going to be on the new record. I told him, I said, man, if there was ever a bullfighting theme, this is it. He's like, a bullfighting? I'm not looking for bullfighting. I'm like, trust me, this is so good, Mike. He just gets these riffs. And I told him, let's just keep pulling out these emotions. Now, this new record we're working on, which is called Children of the Morgue, it's pretty much a concept record on life and death, mainly death, because as the old Iron Maiden saying, and many others, as soon as you're born, you're dying. So this is the tale of all the arteries that come with dying, from the families dealing with it to the person that's dying dealing with it, to outside sources, the all the angles of this. So it's a very emotional record, and it calls for a lot of emotional moments of this record. It's going to be very, you know, touching heart for me. You know, I've lost a lot, mom and dad, in shitty ways. My son's mother in shitty ways. We lost our drummer drowned back in 2018.
Mhm.
This is it, and it's like, I'm a happy guy. I'm the nicest guy, smiles all the time, but there's a lot of freaky shit in my head I want to get
No, I
out, and
understand.
I want the music to match the vision of the lyrics, and that doesn't happen a lot. And I'm very proud of some of the stuff. For example, that song I just mentioned, "A Very Familiar Stranger." For me, the music fits the theme from start to finish. It's perfect, and that's what we thrive for. We never put out bullshit. We'll never half-ass a record or throw 8 new songs to say, "Here's the new record." When it's ready, it's ready. That's
Yeah.
why sometimes it takes us 7 years to do a record. It's got to be right. There's
Yeah.
no hurry for us. We're not out to do anything but make music. If anybody likes it, that's just an extra for us. We're not
Yeah.
in this as a business. We're not in this to make money. None of that stuff. We play shows, and we just enough to get by. Maybe we get a couple scoops of ice cream or some cheese fries from Outback. You know what I'm saying? When all the bills are paid, that's as far as it goes. And
Yeah, I
we get
understand.
that. We didn't start a band called Deceased and have songs called Feasting on Skulls or Shrieks from the Hearse to go, oh man, this is going to pay all our bills, and we're going to be,
Yeah.
Mick Jagger's right hand man. We know better, so it's going to
Right.
be, we're all in, and that's what we do. That's why these records mean the world to us. And this new one will have a lot of what you're saying with these emotional and melodic parts, because to me, there's nothing wrong with melody. There's nothing wrong with
Oh,
it.
no.
No,
No.
not at all.
Speaking of which, help me. As soon as you're born, you're dying. That's what the clairvoyant, right? Is that
You
the
got it.
song?
You're right on it.
All right. I just wanted to make sure because I'm hearing the song in my head. All right. Let's talk about that because my
Okay.
God, the impeccable. First of all, why did Hell's not put it on vinyl? I don't understand that. I went
You
like,
know what's weird? We're talking about it yesterday. It probably
the
will be
hell?
on final.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was something I've been wanting to do since 1997. While we were writing Thrash Times, while we were writing Fearless, I said, I got this thing, Thrash Times at Ridgemont High. We got to
Yeah.
do this one day. All our high school favorite crap, right? And so it kept never happening because we were trying to write new records and stuff because that's what we do.
Yeah.
And when COVID came around and everybody slowed down, we couldn't play, and we were in our 35th year then, and we had this
Yeah.
plan to do 100 shows all over the world, and we did one stop in Frederick, which I wouldn't call a world tour by any stretch of the imagination. We said, we're going to get this done. And at the same time, a friend of mine named Scooter Buell, he came to me wanted us to do another hardcore thing, which was what we had done before, the Rotten to the Core. And I said, we're going to do that, and we're going to do this Thrash Times.
Yeah.
And we just got together and we did that. We didn't have to, we could just get together and jam and wrote this and recorded this. Thrash Times, I am so proud of it. I'll
Oh,
tell you, speaking for myself, I wanted those vocals to be where they needed to be for each song. I didn't want it to just be me. I wanted to recreate to a degree all that stuff. For example, the Blessed Death song. There's a scream on there that goes for 12 seconds, and I made sure that I did that scream. I didn't Pro Tool it in 3 seconds
no,
times
no.
four.
Yeah.
I
I know.
hit that crap. My wife kept saying when I was practicing upstairs all the time, I'd be like, whatever. She was like, "You're gonna get it." And then when I went in there, and I was on those dreaded headphones.
Right.
I told Mike Bozier, I said, oh, "That's cool. That was good. I wanted to hear that, but can I hear my playback now?" And he goes, "No, no, no. That was you. That wasn't the Blessed Death record." I said, "Then that's a take back." And it
Nice.
fooled
Oh,
me.
Nice. Yeah.
And
So yeah, as
we
soon as I
wanted to do
saw
all
it,
that and give everybody a look to each other. And the one guy in the band that smokes weed, he had to be Spicoli. So,
of course, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I read through the track list and I just said to a friend of mine, I said, this is pure tape trading right here. This is the impeccable taste of these choices. No big four, no big four adjacent shit like Cyclone from Belgium, really? I didn't think anybody else bought that album but me. Mike,
You,
how
you know,
about fighting the fatal when it goes that when it
yeah, you're
hard
naming all the
pan?
good stuff, dude. I love that album. Those
Oh my
guys,
God.
I talk to them all the time. All of them are wearing sweaters in their Exodus shirts and sweaters. That's all they wear. I actually here's the thing with me. I don't know if you know this, but I'm not a big Bay Area guy. Never been.
Hmm.
Never thought Metallica was good ever. Never liked Kill 'Em All when it came. Thought it was goofy. Thought it was boogie woogie. Thought the drumming was
Nice.
poor. I thought the lead work was crap. Just never was a fan. Slayer, I love up to including Hell Awaits. I'm not a big Rain and Blood guy. I'm really not. I was
Gotcha.
disappointed that they kind of, I'll still say, dumbed down from Hell Awaits. Better production. Dave Lombardo's the god of the speed drumming. I'll give
Right.
him that. Megadeth could not stand. First record I ever returned to the stores was Megadeth's "Killing Is My Business." Thought it was goofy. Hated his vocals. Thought he was like a worse Ted Nugent, crooner.
Yeah, yeah,
Anthrax, I love Fistful of Metal. I always say they should have fell off a cliff after that one and
Yeah.
landed in a bucket of shit because I couldn't like it when Joey Belladonna came along.
Yeah, yeah.
Nothing against them, any of those guys. But anyway, so people were like, "Oh, you didn't even do these bands and blah blah blah." And where's Slayer and where's this? We were on plenty of tribute records where we covered Creator, Sodom, Slayer, a lot of those speed bands. I was like, we're
Right.
trying to go more underground. Who the hell remembers Stone? Who the hell's listening to, for Darkness from Germany,
Right.
And I was like, this is the stuff we were listening to back then. And I had a lot of people come to me and say, "Oh man, this really does take me back to my high school years." And they saw the high school locker on the back, and
Yeah.
it was cool. Here's a funny story. So at the end of the record, it was supposed to be a part where I said, well, I did record this. It said, "Hey man, where's Exodus and Megadeth? This is
Yeah.
a thrash record, dude. Where are these bands?" And I had Spicoli from the movie. Those guys are fags. You remember that scene where that
That's
I
perfect.
could not get 3 pressing plants to print that
Oh my
because
God.
they thought, "Oh my God, this is 2023. You're outrageous." I'm like, "Look, dude, I don't give a hell about anybody's sexual,
Yeah,
preference.
yeah, yeah.
This is
Yeah.
for a joke from the movie. Get it?" They
Right,
would not
right.
touch it.
They
They would
wouldn't
Uh-huh.
not
do it.
touch it at
Yeah.
all.
Well,
So
this
it
is
didn't make the final thing, but it was hilarious.
we were so into Whiplash that later on, like when they put those demos out, I remember like my friend said, "Is it the three Tony lineup?" And I'm like, "It's the three Tonys." Yes.
Free Tony lineup.
It had to be the three
Back when I had
Tonys.
hair and I was young, I used to always get compared to Tony Bono, the bass player. Everywhere I go, "Are you Tony Bono from Whiplash?"
Yeah, yeah.
Man,
That was
we
some
saw
I
him
mean,
on the Power and Pain tour. My favorite thrash record of all time is Power and Pain.
it's amazing. It's so Iron Maiden, but it is, I mean, it's perfect speed metal. It's perfect. I
It,
love it.
it, it is. They're so catchy. They're so intense. It's what these other bands people say is that wasn't to me.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
people
And
still
he
say,
looked
"I
a little
can't
bit
believe
like
you don't like to Kill 'Em All."
who's the guy that sang and played guitar? I always thought he looked a little bit like Mark Farner from Grand Funk.
Tony Portaro.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Except with
It's
the bullet
probably
belt.
his
Yeah.
age. Tony's pretty old. People are like, "Oh, he's so good on guitar." I'm like, "Dude, he's 10 years older than all of us now." I mean, I think he was 32 when it took off. And most bands,
Yeah.
Sacrifice was like 21, 22.
Yeah.
This guy was 33, 34. I think he's almost 70 now.
Yeah. No, that's great. Have you seen the documentary on rigor mortis? It's great.
I have.
Oh, it's great. I love
Fantastic.
it.
A damn shame they didn't
They
get to
talk
finish
about
that.
it.
It
They
was
threw his
damn
drums in the lake. Oh my God. It's
Oh
great.
yeah, it's crazy. I was really good friends with Bruce for a long time. I actually reissued on my other label, Old Metal Records. I reissued that CD for the first Rigor Mortis through
Yeah.
him.
Oh,
Added some
great.
demos and stuff. Yeah, they were good. They were fun guys.
Yeah, a lot of fun. Yeah.
So how do you decide what material goes to October
31st.
31st and deceased? I mean, is there a rhyme or reason there?
The October, I will say it's 31, no first.
31.
It's deliberately crappy English on purpose because our guitar player that started the band with me is a backwards hillbilly from North Carolina, and I'm a backwards hillbilly from Virginia. So we were like, "No, it's not October. It's 31." But
I've been
back
saying it
then
wrong
he
my
had
whole life
plenty
then.
of risks. How that
Yeah.
happened was he called me. This guy calls me, and I'll do the imitation. "Is this King Fowley from Deceased? This is Brian Williams from I'm in a band called Overlord. We got a demo out called Dahmer's Diner. I'd like
Okay.
you to hear it, and I'd like to play some shows with your band. I got your number from a mutual friend, blah, blah, blah." So we talked and talked. This is 1995. We're talking. We both find out we both love the album Uriah Heep, Abominog.
Yeah,
Okay.
we all
Which is,
love that one.
yeah, that's my favorite record of all time, just for the
Yeah.
record. And
Okay.
he started saying, how come there's nothing like that? I was like, how come there's no heavy metal anymore in America? I was like, nobody plays it at all. I was like, everything now is either grunge or this crap whatever the hell that those bands were doing then. And he said, we should get together and do something. So I said, let's do it. He said he played guitar. I said I played drum, and I wanted to get a singer. I wanted to get a singer like Rick Emmett from Triumph. I wanted to get a real high soaring guy that was like melodic, yet maybe even a Lou Graham, where he could hit it, but he was good.
That guy from,
Of
remember
course.
Winterhawk? The guy from Winterhawk.
Absolutely loved him. Revival, what a record.
Ooh, yeah.
Period of change. That's my tune.
Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah.
That's very Triumph like.
Yeah. It is.
But we were talking and we got together and he brought two guys down and we just started jamming riffs of his. And so after a while, when by the time we recorded an album, we about 97, Deceased was doing Fearless, and it was a heavy metal, like you're asking now. It was a heavy metal kind of like togetherness there. And people are like, well, which riffs do you use? And I'm like, well, I'm just letting Brian, for the most part, write these riffs. And with Deceased, it's this. The difference for me was October 31 Live was a hell of a party band. Hell of a party band. I mean, crazy as shit on stage. I just wanted to be the drummer. I did not want to sing. They were like, dude, you're the most fun dude up front. You're the, even if you're like Ozzy, you're crazy. I was like, dude, I want a fucking singer. Can I have a singer for once? Can I have somebody like a Rick Emmett or a Dave Meniketti, somebody that can sing? And they were like, dude, you got to do it. So we actually had two guys help us first. One guy named Chuck, who couldn't sing, but was a fun guy up front. Then we had a guy named Sean Pallotta, who's been on a couple albums. This guy could sing, but he had no presence on stage for the most part. He was kind of just did his job, but he didn't end up wanting to do it. I would have been fine with him. So we played a show and it was like Halford 78. Okay. It was that good.
Wow.
There's footage of that. If you go on the YouTube from 2000 of October 31 with him singing, and I'm talking perfect. This guy could hit these notes. Yeah. So anyway, we just kind of went down that road doing our own thing. Deceased did their own thing. And what was easy for me is I could write just basically cut with Deceased. It's super, 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 super serious. With October 31, I could be loose. I could just write fun lyrics and do this crap and go on stage and stuff like that. So that's what I liked the best about it. For both bands, we played at Wacken. Now, October 31 actually passed Deceased for a while. Metal Blade picked us up. They signed us, and they brought us to Wacken, and we played to 20,000 people in 2000. It was 4 stages. They always had 1 and 3 or 2 and 4 going, so there was a stage between you. When we played at 5 o'clock, the other band playing was Angel Witch, and we all know that that's a pretty popular and legendary band. We had a crowd there that they did not have at the time, and it blew my mind. And we went over great. And as soon as we were done, of course, the guy that runs Wacken said to me, dude, you're fun as hell. If you ever want to play again, I said, well, dude, I got another band called Deceased, and I would love to play next year. So we came back the next year, and with October 31 and with Deceased, that was the first time I ever fronted either band on stage. That was the first time I ever just sang for Deceased or October 31. And the drummer from October 31 came over and took over drums on Deceased. So we played the next year. We were the first band on the big stage. We played at 9:45 in the morning at Wacken to like 12,000 people on I think it was a Saturday morning or a Friday morning. There was people, I remember people hung over from the night before. They're like, should have been here for the pre-show with Crocus last night. And they opened up the doors, and I remember seeing LG, rest in peace, from Entombed. He was laid out, but he was like, I was like, look, there's LG passed out in the fucking field. It was a shootout in there, like a Clint Eastwood movie, They opened up this big gate, and there was all these people passed out from the night before. But basically with the riffs, as we moved on, it was easy to separate them. There was always riffs that be had. And like I said, Mike does most of the riffs for Deceased. I left him be, and October just at our own pace. I do want to say, sadly, October 31, we're doing a farewell record. Brian, our guitar player, who's the funnest, greatest live guitarist I ever played with, he's got Parkinson's disease severely. And it hit him real hard about 3 years ago, and he just can't do it anymore. It really got him. He is 60 years old now, and it just ravaged him. So we're gonna do a farewell record. It's called Ye Old Peril. We're gonna do it for Hell's Headbanger. We're working on it now, and he's just gonna play some leads on it. He can't even probably do some rhythms, but we need to say bye. We never got to do a farewell show. That sucks. We had so many ideas you wouldn't believe. We were gonna have this big Dave Mustaine pinata that I beat to death, and all of his stupid sayings came out of it.
Well,
But
what
that's
about
kind of where
the
it stands for the band.
that best of Metal Blade thing you did with October? I mean, that's almost as cool as the Thrash
That was
Times.
fun. Only problem with that one was, man, there was a period of about, I'd say, 10 months where I just could not come unhorsed. And when we recorded that, I could not get my voice to be where I want it to be. Most people say, I don't hear it. I hear it. I feel it. I don't like it. My singing on
Yeah,
it. But I love doing it. Again, we went underground. They're like, where's all the big bands? And I'm like, dude, come on, man.
yeah,
Does anybody need to hear Overkill on this? You know, there's
yeah.
so deep cuts that we wanted to do.
Right. Did you
That
read
was fun though.
Did you
October
read Brian?
31, Metal Massacre.
Did you read Brian Slagle's book?
I did. There's a new book, I guess, a second book that I
Yeah,
have
I
not
know
read.
that.
It was too short and not that deep, I thought. Did you like it?
Well, I liked things like that. Eddie Vedder was secretly a Fates Warning fan, but they had to usher him. That's the kind of bullshit that I fucking hated
God.
about grunge, is that you had to secretly like bands. I mean, what the fuck is that?
Yeah, I know.
That
I
stuff
get
I
what you're
found
saying.
interesting. Don't tell
Yeah.
anybody, but I like Fates Warning. What?
I know, right?
Like that alone
Like
was
what you
gonna
like.
ruin his image.
Yeah, like what you like. Exactly.
So should we do our game?
Why don't we do our game? This should be fun.
All right. So we do a game. You're going to get 5 random questions. So I have questions before me between 1 and 100. So I want you to pick 5 numbers.
16, 38, 39, 1, and 84.
Okay.
All right. Number 16. Have you ever walked out on a job?
As it walked out, considered I worked at the Waxy Maxies when I was 15 years old. I wanted some weed. This guy had a killer ounce of weed. I'd only been working there about 3 weeks. There was a Frank Sinatra box set records thing. It was about $152. Somebody came in and bought it. It was sitting up on the counter. This lady who was a lesbian worked there named Robin. She went on her lunch break. She came back. She said, "Where's the tape for the Frank Sinatra? I see it's sold." I said, "I don't know. I didn't sell it." She said, "You're the only one working the register." So she knew I took the money, and I was fired or walked out from there. I've never like said, "Fuck this, I'm leaving" from a job ever.
This place is like Waxy Max's and Sam Goody. I remember going in there and being like, they don't even care about making money from the music. They're selling like the bobbleheads and T-shirts and shit. That's all they care about.
Yeah, it did become that for sure. Our penguin feather who had all the head shop in the back, you know.
Yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
All right. Number 38. Have you ever met a celebrity? Who and how did it go?
I've met a lot of celebrities. I've through the years going to conventions, or the very first celebrity I ever met was Scott Baio.
Oh wow.
Oh, wow.
I was 12 years old. It was the World of Wheels at the DC Armory in Washington, DC.
Okay.
He was there. It was also the Playboy Honey. So I met them too, including a couple gals that ended up in the Legs video for ZZ Top.
Okay.
Met Batman and Robin. All of them were nice. I had a Kiss Destroyer iron on with Scott Baio. He's like, "Oh, I love Kiss. It's cool." The coolest one I ever met, the one I wanted to meet the most, probably. Well, I met Steve Harris from Iron Maiden.
Oh wow.
He was super cool. He went out and did his British Lions tour right before COVID hit at up here in Lancaster. And my wife said, "You got to go. He's my idol of all idols. He looks the same, band's the same. He's the same guy he was 40 years ago." I love that about him. I went up there. Everybody kept saying, he's signing stuff at the end of the night, but I kept hearing that show, he had to be in New York for the next show at 4 a.m. They didn't finish till 1:15 in the morning. Okay. It was one of those nights where wasn't so cold out, but they had the heat on because it was winter. It was January. So the room was extremely hot. I watched this man play almost a 2-hour set with British Lions at a club that held 125 people. And when it was over, I watched this man take his own bass cabinet. They were talking about $150 million band. Take his own bass cabinet, wheel it off the stage, all that. And then they said, "He's not going to come out, man. He's not going to come out. He's got to go to New York." And then this guy said, "Don't you dare leave. He's coming out. He's definitely coming out." And then this guy got up on the bar and said, "Steve is going to sign 2 pieces of material for everybody in here, no charge. Please line up accordingly. He needs to be somewhere, but he's not going to forget the quote unquote, in British slang, the punters." I got in line. I walked up to him. I said, "Man, I've loved Iron Maiden since I was skinny, dude." And he laughed. He was super cool. That was one of my favorites. My other favorite was my crush as a kid was Cheryl Ladd from the Charlie's Angels show.
Oh yeah.
I met her and we talked for about 20 minutes. Got some great pictures with her. Met her a few years ago up in New Jersey at this convention. She was actually not supposed to come out for 2 more hours, but I looked over and I said, "Holy fuck, there's Cheryl Ladd."
Oh
And
my God.
my wife was laughing the whole time because Tony Danza was there, and wifey likes Tony Danza, but Tony
Tony
Danza
Dan.
ended up looking like a bag of shit that day for whatever reason. So I'm like, Cheryl Ladd's looking great. She was 67 years old when I met her,
Wow.
Yeah.
and she came over and she said, "Oh, that's so great." And I started telling her how I had a Charlie's Angels pinball machine in my house and all
Oh,
this,
wow.
and she was super cool. So that was my, that made me know what boobies were when I was a little boy.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, I always thought the most interesting thing about these huge bands like, like Maiden and Joe Elliott from Def Leppard, they all tell you, well, we wanted to be soccer players. Rock and roll was our backup plan. And I'm just like, what?
Exactly.
Soccer. I'm American. I don't give a
Steve
shit
Harris
about
that whole
soccer.
day was at the bar watching soccer before they played the
Right.
whole day, and we left him alone. I wasn't going to go bother a man eating his lunch,
Yeah.
drinking his beer,
Yeah.
and watching his soccer. That ain't right.
Yeah, it's like a head scratcher. I'm just, the guys from UFO, same thing. Well, if we can't be
Absolutely.
soccer players,
Yeah, I can't see Pete Way being a soccer player.
no. 39. What is something that normal people do that is actually pretty weird?
Normal people do.
normal people.
I've never understood yawning. For me, it's bizarre. It's like someone will start yawning and everybody's yawning, and we might even start yawning now talking about it.
Right.
I don't understand that. I read about it, I Google about it. It's just one of those things. Other people have said this too, but I don't understand yawning.
It's
I don't
contagious.
understand what
Yeah.
it is. You can look it up. You can find 50 different reasons for why we yawn if you from 50 different sources. That's odd to me. How
Mhm.
this guy will yawn, and then the dog will yawn, or the dog will yawn.
I
if there's a
know.
man
It's
yawn.
crazy. I know.
Now you keep that in the back of your mind for going forward, and next time you're yawning and stuff, remember what the guy King said that day, and see if I'm right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Number 1, what outfit have you worn in the past that you would not wear today?
I don't think there is one. I'm still as goofy as ever. I'm wearing an HR Puffin Stuff shirt right now.
I was
while
going to
we're
point
talking.
that out. Yeah.
I was just at my car insurance earlier, and she's like, "You're showing your age with that shirt on." I said, "You're showing good taste, knowing what it is." And so I gave them a little questionnaire, her and the other guy in there. I said, "Name me 4 other Sid and Marty Cross shows." They came up with Land of the Lost. That's where they stopped. I said, "You telling me nobody here remembers Sigmund the Sea Monster?" And I
No.
started telling Electro Woman and Dyna Girl and Dr. Shrinker and the Far Out Space Vets with Bob
No.
Denver of Gilligan's Island fame. And they're like, "Dude, you're weird as shit. Get the hell out of our building." But no, there's nothing I wouldn't wear. I don't think. I mean, no, I'm as goofy as hell.
I remember that it was a big deal. My mom would have they would announce our birthdays on Captain Chesapeake when I was a boy.
Oh, I love that. It's
Remember
2
Captain
bells.
Chesapeake?
It's time for Marine Boy.
Exactly right.
I know Captain Chesapeake. That was WBFF 45.
WBFF. Yeah.
And then it was Ghost Host as well.
Go. Yeah,
I
those
know
are the
those
days.
channels, man. We got that back when there was only 3 channels, and you
3 channels.
you went to the
Yeah.
other one to find 20 and 22, Sesame Place, Electric Company,
Right.
26, and
Those were the
45.
ones where you really had to mess with the antenna to get.
Oh yeah, the black and white got it perfect though. And then there was a thing called FM TV, which was it was something you had to pay for. But if you turned your TV just the right way on Saturday night after 11, you might get a booby.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I used to watch. I'd be looking at this crap and like In Praise of Older Women, 1977, Karen Black. And I'm like, that's a booby movie. I know that's. I turned the TV and you shake it and do all this, and by the time you found it, you missed it. But that's
Oh,
it.
that's great. Yeah, I remember all that stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
Fun
I love
times.
it.
Oh, yeah.
All right, 84. Would you rather explore the ocean or space?
Space. Absolutely space. I've never been an ocean guy, and I'm extremely not one now since our drummer drowned in the ocean a few years ago.
Yeah.
I've never been a beach guy. I love the boardwalk. I love the haunted house, the all that kind of stuff, but I've never been into the water at all. Space, I'm not big on space, but I would definitely. That's another thing. It's what beyond our parallels. What the hell is there? Though the bottom of the ocean is probably pretty goddamn creepy
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
for me.
Yeah, I'm always, when I'm in the ocean, I'm like, is something about to eat me? It's always that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
and you always hear the Jaws music. Everybody does. I
Oh,
even hear
yeah.
that if I'm sitting on a toilet.
I love it. Well, we'll be very excited to, when do you think the new album will be out? Do you have any idea or?
We've written about 25 minutes of it. It's going to be about 50. So we're probably going to finish the year writing it. Um, I'm thinking we're going to record it around April, June, because it's going to take a little process to get everything together and everything. Amos is going to play drums on it. He lives in Atlanta. He's our live drummer. I still write everything on drums, but I'm beat up. I don't know if you guys know, but in 2004 I had a stroke and my whole left side got fucked up.
I remember
So I
reading
did
about
play
that. Yeah.
drums on one album after all that, the Surreal Overdose, just to prove I could still do it. But it's going to take time to show people. We're going to demo it as the guys that write it. We're going to demo it, and we're going to get everybody together. It's going to be a pretty damn cool. I'm hoping it's going to be as good as I'm thinking in my mind. We're thinking a little bit outside the box. We're going to make it a little bit more freaky than usual. Maybe a little bit of Kiss the Elder, weirdness to it in there. Maybe. I've already got dibs on the purple headband like Paul would wear.
Yeah,
So,
like Paul. Yeah.
like Paul would wear. But yeah, other than that, we got 4 shows coming up. We're actually playing in DC at a place called the Songbird. Are you guys familiar with that?
Oh yeah. I know
Uh-huh.
it is. Yep.
We're playing down there. It's on a Thursday. It's August 10th. We're playing with our buddies Abominog and that band. I can't say the first name that they played the other day. Something Grind was starts with an E.
Escuela Ground. Escuela Ground.
Grind.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay,
The
yeah,
singer's
they're
like
playing with us.
yeah. The
And then we're
singer's like
going
90
into
pounds.
Ohio to play with Nunslaughter. Then we're going into Indiana to play with Mortician and a band called Profanatica. And we got another show in Pittsburgh. Then in September is super busy. We got we're going into Mexico to do a festival with Autopsy, Dark Tranquility,
Wow.
Grave, Paradise Lost,
Wow.
Satan, bands
Yeah.
like that. And then we're planning a tour, which was in the early stages. I'll leave it at that through
Yeah.
about September. So that whole month's going to throw the loop on writing the rest of the record at some point. But we're busy now doing that. But we've got about
Yeah.
25 minutes of music. It's 100% deceased. It will be worth the wait. We're never going to give anybody less than what we feel is the best we can be.
Yeah. How great is Satan still? I mean, anybody who I find who likes that new Metallica shit, I'm like, have you heard Satan? I mean, here is a band that has been carrying the flag and still kicks ass. Come
They've
on.
never sucked. I just saw them in Philly like 6 weeks ago, and they were unbelievable.
They're
I mean,
great.
Brian Ross' voice is perfect.
Oh
Man.
yeah.
He's
And I
still
loved
got
all
it. He
that
was
shit. I
super
loved
cool.
Pariah and
Yeah, me too.
all that stuff when they went thrash. Pariah. And what was the other one? Christ, they had 2 names. Blind Fury, all that shit. I love.
Oh yeah, Blind Fury, absolutely.
Yeah.
He's a legend. When they
No.
came through here, it was great. We got to talk to him for a minute, and just nice as hell, and the real deal. I wish more bands were still that heavy metal.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I miss heavy metal. A lot of the new bands that are out there, very, I don't want to use the word, but I guess I got to use the word tender. It's
Uh.
it's a lot of it's a lot of softy stuff now.
Well, do you
I'm
know
hearing.
John from Hammers of Misfortune? You know him?
Yeah.
John? Yeah, yeah. We interviewed him a few months ago, and he had the best. We were talking about Scalzi from Slough-Fag. You know Scalzi from Slough-Fag, right?
Yeah.
Scalzi makes fun of Manowar, and he was talking about how American responses to heavy metal are always ironic, and we got to be funny, and whereas in Germany and these other places, there is no irony. And he's like, do we
Right.
always have to be the snarky Americans? Can't we just say we love Manowar because it's good heavy metal? Can't let them enjoy their Manowar? And I thought that was very cool. Yeah.
I love old Manowar. They lost me somewhere when it turned into a Walt Disney.
Well,
sound
yeah.
like to me.
Yeah. Wow.
But I mean, when I was a kid, there was a thing. DC 101 used to be a real radio station.
Oh, I remember. Yeah. Yeah.
when I was a kid, and they used to have this thing called Monday Midnight Metal. Okay. Every Monday at midnight, they played not one, but the entire album by a band. And this
Okay.
is where I picked up on, I'll give you a quick couple. Anvil Metal on Metal in its entirety was played there. Okay. Sound Barrier, Total Control, the all black band back then.
Yeah.
Heaven, the very first Heaven Bent record was on there. Then it got into deeper stuff like the Rods was on there.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
Baron Rojo from Spain and
Oh,
Tank
yeah.
and stuff.
Volume and
Some weeks
Brutal.
you'd
Yeah.
get like Def Leppard or Ozzy, but they really dug deep when it came to stuff like that. And one week they said Manowar, battle hymns, and I always recorded them. And
Yeah.
that came on. I was like, I don't know who the hell this is, but I love this. And I remember you had to guess the titles of the songs because they never gave you the titles. And I don't know why I did this because it's so obvious. But the song Manowar, I wrote on my thing Matahor. I was like, they're singing Matahor. And I was like, That's fucking Manowar. How stupid
Yeah.
am I? For years.
I remember
I
that about
love
DC
that.
101. Yeah, I remember I was a huge King's X fan when they had first come out. I thought they were
Sure.
just the greatest band. And they played a King's X song on DC 101 in like 1990. And I was like, they've made it. That's it. They're going to be the biggest band
They're
ever.
going, man, they did stay pretty
And of
big.
course they weren't, but I thought that was the end. So, yeah.
Yeah, that was a good station. That was what I grew up with. All that. Even 98 Rock used to be good. They used to have that hour of metal, and they played the deep Maiden cuts. You could get,
Yeah.
Children of the Damned on there or something.
Yeah.
Now I
I was
come
sad.
down through there to
I would listen to
jam
Metal
down in
Shop. Remember
DC.
Metal Shop?
Yeah, you
I love
mean metal shop?
Yeah, and it was D. Snyder's brother that did that show. Yeah, yeah.
It was fun, but
Metal.
I mean, that's when I go down there now and I hear these stations. I'm like, you talk about corporate bullshit. It just
Yeah,
sucks. I'll play that 100 the Bay, or I
yeah,
guess that's like a local thing over there in Baltimore area. And
right,
once in a while, I might hear something a little deep cut, like I've heard Stone Blue from Foghat one day. I was
right.
like, that's a little bit off the kilter. Up here, you hear nothing. You hear the same 10 songs every
Oh
day.
yeah,
You'll hear
it's
Bon
all
Jovi, you'll hear
Mhm.
Elton John, you'll hear Billy Joel, you'll hear Pink Floyd and Queen repeatedly. I mean,
that's what people want to
hourly. And I'm
hear.
not even saying like different songs. They'll literally play Bohemian Rhapsody 6 times a day here.
I know it's crazy. I know.
It's awful. But I mean, there's everything else in the world and all this crap around me. I got my own tunes, but I still
Yeah,
like to jam the radio. It's just like everybody likes to flip the TV. You got 200 stations and you kind of enjoy flipping still.
yeah.
I know
Well,
I do.
I was telling Stace, I remember one time for work, I went in this machine shop and they had like this ancient radio, the knobs were broken off, and it just played classic rock all day. And I thought, I wish it was that simple for me. I wish I could be okay with just hearing Pink Floyd and Ozzy all day, but I can't.
We got a grocery store up here we shop at. Sometimes they play the best tunes in town.
Right.
I'm in there, they're playing Boys Are Back in Town, they're playing April Wine,
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
playing even stuff like I'll hear stuff like Shooting Star. Remember them?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. I heard well, I was in the grocery store the other day and they played Snortin' Whiskey by Pat Travers. I was like,
Yeah,
holy
she probably
shit.
got the same DJ as ours, man. It's ShopRite up here. No, it's not. It's Weiss that does it.
Right, right. I think it was Weiss here.
They just came out with that AI DJ on Spotify. So we tried it and Mark put it on. And the first thing the guy said was, apparently metal is your thing. I was like, well, he's got
Oh
you
no, he goes, it's scary accurate. He goes, we're gonna start off this morning with some Burzum. And I was like, I don't think any DJ has
That's
ever
bizarre.
said that. Yeah.
That is bizarre. Hey, that's cool. What do they say for me? I'd be on there. I'm the weird guy. I'll play 1 minute. I'll have Pat Benatar. Then I'll be playing, something outrageous.
Yeah, yeah.
I love it though. I mean, music is music. I love it. That's my life. It saved me. I stayed away from all the other shit since I was a kid, and
Yeah.
it's what
That's
we
great.
do. And like I said at the show the other day, it's all about fun. I had to go off at that show. I don't know if you guys heard me when I was talking about the VIP passes between songs. Do you remember
No,
that?
I think I missed that. What was it?
I basically was saying, anybody here that wants to sell fucking $150, sit down with me. I said, you're fucking too big for your britches. Bullshit. I said,
Yeah.
this is fucking underground. Go hang out with the Stones, Kiss, these big
Right, right,
bands
right.
that do that shit because we don't need that shit. I saw that someone was talking about $150 to meet Dying Fetus, and I was like,
Yeah,
you gotta
yeah.
be kidding me, dude.
I say what, like my equivalent of that was I remember back in the 90s, I wrote a review for Load when Metallica put Load out because I said this is the most offensive back cover of an album ever because they're all pimped up smoking cigars. And like,
Yeah.
what's the caption? We will not be signing autographs today. We are no longer your band. We're everyone's band. I mean, what the fuck? Like
Yep.
I remember that. Like that
Oh
was
yeah, I
the
remember they
perfect
said
picture.
he said, oh, I mean, one of them said, oh, this is crazy. We came for the band photo. We noticed everybody in the band had cut their hair on the same day, like as if that wasn't calculated, like we're supposed to believe that.
Right. Yeah.
Christ.
We are no longer your band. Thank you very much. Yeah.
They're that band. I've never liked their music, but I love their home videos they put out. That's some kind of monster one where they're all flipping around flip flops the whole time and pointing at each other. And Lars's dad, I'm like, this is better than Spinal Tap, dude.
It is.
I
It's like
love
Spinal
that.
Tap, but nobody told the band. Yeah. Yeah. I know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a whole that other one, The Year in the Life of Metallica. I was like, this fucker sat here for 1 year piecing together the drum parts that are so easy to play for that Black record. And I'm like, he literally sat for 1 year
Yeah.
to piece those parts together. Like, give me take 17 here for that roll,
Yeah. Yeah.
37 over here, and I was like, this really happened. This
Yeah.
really happened. Sure, they sold all these records and they're got movie theaters in their houses and shit, but That's lame, dude. That's
Well, yeah,
lame.
like you said, kill them all. I want kill them all. You could tell all those crazy fills. That's him not being able to play a straight beat. I mean, that's him. That they're all cover ups.
Yep.
Somebody must have gone crazy with gaffer tape making that record. I mean,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, you're exactly right. I've noticed that. Somebody else that's famous for doing that, which most people don't see, and they think he's a. I don't have nothing against him. He's a super nice guy. I met him, but Vinny Appice, he's famous for it. He can't get through a whole note. He can't do it.
Oh
He's always
my.
coming to the snare roll. Always. I tell people, they're like, "What are you talking about?" I was actually at that Sabbath at the Radio City Hall when they was Heaven and Hell. Remember that
Yeah.
they put out?
Oh yeah, yeah.
He must have fucked up 3 songs. Geezer Butler was fucking on him. They obviously cut all that on the DVD to make it look like it's
Oh
Wow.
all
my
there.
God.
He was fucking up, and Geezer was like, "You're fucking up, dude."
Wow. He goes all the way back to what, Blue Cheer?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Jesus
All righty,
Christ.
sir. Well, I will let you go. Thanks so much. We could go on for probably all night, but I really
Yeah,
appreciate
I
it.
tell you what, you guys are smart as the whip, man. I love that. Deep cuts. When you start busting out fighting the fatal from Cyclone, I knew we were gonna
Yeah.
have a good interview.
All right, so I'm going to admit this to the public. I do have a copy of REO. You Get What You Play For on vinyl. All right,
Hey,
I
and
still
there's
have
nothing
it.
wrong with that.
I have
I
it.
got High Infidelity record on the wall up in the
I
bedroom.
like Wild Turkey Trot. That's mine.
I got nothing against REO, isn't that? It's just stop picking. It's go to look at the thrash times behind you. Stop picking the obvious, man.
Right.
There's more
Stop
to life
picking
than
the obvious.
Paranoid and Iron Man, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah.